Let's turn on some mics and get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday. And we have some special guests today. Me.
What?
My name,
What do you
Right.
mean you?
Oh,
What do you mean you, special guest?
my
Ladies and
mom
gentlemen,
says I am
which
special.
direction to point?
Okay, this is Torn Tuesday from the uniquely independent point of view of Justin. Actually, folks, this is the open-handed, wonderful community show that you've come to love over all these years. And I should say, at the risk of sounding immodest, we've been quite the center hub of conversations, interviews, news, gossip, and analysis in the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. And it is Torn Tuesday. My name is Clifford Broadway. Right over there, my producer and co-host is Justin Sewell. There he is. And joining us, the inimitable, irreplaceable, he's a gentleman and a scholar. It's that guy, Matt, Nerd of the Rings, is that guy right there joining us on the show. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, everybody. What's up?
How you doing, Matt?
Good. Sorry, I think I froze for a second there.
For you.
Yeah, things are good. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it later, but went over to Oxonmoot over in the UK, which was fun. Got to hang out with a lot of Tolkien fans. But back in the US now, and I think I've finally gotten over the jet lag, which sucks.
But
yeah.
you haven't
Traveling
got
east.
over the million fan mark, have you? You're really close.
I have not. It's close. It's like getting so close I can kind of taste it. I'm getting a little antsy, but
It's a very
Folks,
clever segue, Justin. Very clever.
I will say it's never been about the subscriber number as nice as subscriber numbers are. But yeah, there's definitely a part of me, the competitive part of me that's like really wants to see that number turn over.
It's not just
Well-
competitive, right, folks? And if you're just joining us and you don't know Matt, Nerd of the Rings is the #1 Tolkien YouTuber for lore videos. He started just before the pandemic started in 2020. And in 3 short years, he is on the cusp of breaking 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which is a huge feat. And you're like 25,000 away. You're just just a small little thing. You're at 975,000 subscribers on YouTube. So folks,
It's wild.
while you're watching here, click open a new tab, subscribe to Nerd of the Rings on YouTube, create a new account, do it again, tell your mom, your family,
I don't
your
condone
kids, your dog. We want to get Matt to 1 million because YouTube will send you a little plaque, won't they?
Oh yeah. When you cross 1 million, you get a gold one. I have the silver one back there from 100,000. But yeah,
No.
yeah.
It is the allure of dragon gold.
Yes, it's the
deep-seated
dragon
allure
sickness.
of the dragon sickness making
It'll
you
come
thirst
over me.
for the gold. No, really. No, I'm going to talk about the fact that I know you as a friend, and I also have to say I started out in your audience as an ardent admirer. I was, before knowing you and before bringing you into our bigger, broader conversations here on the OneRing.net, I had been sitting in my living room thinking to myself, wow, that man knows how to make a video. He knows how to concisely crystallize what is often a bit of a challenge for the layman, the sprawling sources and different books that were posthumously published, sources of Tolkien lore, and finding the way that you do to crystallize these elements and bring in beautiful motion graphics, and the way that your editors and your team work together with you is just so awesome. And it's nice to see, really, from humble beginnings, to see you arrive at this new threshold. My friend, I congratulate you, and I have to say it's well deserved. It's well deserved.
Well, thank you so much, Cliff. I didn't realize we were going to be stroking my ego this much when I agreed to come on the stream here.
No, but look at
yeah,
what you're getting. This is
yes,
a huge threshold. It's a huge thing, you know?
It's very fun. Hopefully it's just the beginning, and there'll be much more Tolkien fun to be had in the years to come. But yes, as you mentioned, shout out to my editor Taylor, who came on about a year ago. It was right after Rings of Power, and I realized how much editing and how many all-nighters I was doing, and I decided enough of that. But yeah, Taylor's been great this last year, so shout out to him.
Oh yeah, he's
Well,
cool. He's so cool.
to staying on this topic just a little bit more, since you're right about to hit 1 million subscribers, what has been the biggest surprise or biggest, anything that you've learned going from a guy with a laptop to being a YouTuber?
You know what? It seems that Matt has frozen.
He did.
Uh-oh.
Oh my
Uh-oh.
gosh.
Oh goodness, we're in the middle of talking to
big
Matt, nerd of the rings,
the big
about that
YouTuber
magic
froze. And then we just froze. All right, what happened there? I lost everybody. Zoom EXE has crashed. Hold on, folks. I think it's me. Your account has been locked due to multiple failed login attempts. Let me see if I can fix this. Oh, maybe I can join the meeting. Join the meeting. Meeting ID. Bear with me, folks. View the waiting room.
Hello.
All
Hi
right.
there. Back again. And thank you, Justin, for
Maybe.
bringing us back in. Here we are.
There we go. I
Hard
see
reset.
us now.
Hard reboot. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know who is carrying a ring, but it's not the right ring, and it's not being used in the right place at the right time.
Or it's just a Mercury retrograde, right?
We
Yes.
all have internet issues at random times, and
Yeah.
I guess so.
That was rough, man.
It happens more to us than others, but sure, that's fine too. I want a big shout out right now to our live audience. Welcome to the chat, everybody on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Discord. Welcome to our live show. We can say hello to you right here in the chat.
We've been
Good to have you all
doing
here.
the show for 12 years, and not only does our internet go out once
12?
in a while, entire platforms of streaming services have gone out. We were on Ustream and Justin.tv and Stickam, and we've been on every streaming platform that has existed.
What the heck is Justin.tv?
It was the precursor to Twitch. This guy, not this Justin, another Justin, a friend of mine, started live streaming his life, got like 1 million views, and
Man.
some internet people gave him a bunch of money to create a website around that, and so
Right.
Justin.tv was born. And then Amazon bought Justin.tv and turned it into Twitch, and now it's a full-time
Huh.
gaming platform. So we were one of the first
Okay.
accounts on Justin.tv way back when. And then gaming started taking off way faster than podcasts.
Yeah.
So that they went all in on gaming. But you went all in on YouTube. Why YouTube and not any other platform?
So I've told this story before, but at my full-time job as a videographer, the company I was working for, basically they wanted to have a YouTube channel, and it was in higher ed, so I shouldn't say company, but the institution I was working for, they were like, to me and another guy, they're like, you guys seem techie and stuff. Why don't you learn how to YouTube and do our YouTube? And so it was
Is
more
that
so it was
what a
more so
motivational
yeah, right.
speech?
um so we did, we did a lot of research over a period of months and grew their YouTube, and eventually, it was not necessarily a conscious decision. It was more so like I had a general understanding of YouTube, and kind of had the itch to make a YouTube channel of some kind, and knew that if I was going to do it, it's going to be about something that I loved and something that I could talk about for hours on end. And really, that's the only option there for me is Tolkien, essentially.
What's been the
So,
biggest perk of becoming a full-time YouTuber, quitting your job, doing this full-time?
oh, no commute is amazing. Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes.
like working from home. I really dig working from home. Yeah, I'm kind of a homebody anyway, and so like not having to commute or go into an office, and um yeah, like I can be as introverted as I naturally am when I work from home in my little nerd cave here. And just hunker down and read Tolkien and write about Tolkien and record audio and edit Tolkien videos. It's pretty legit.
Now
I'm
this
I'm very blessed.
your trip to Oxonmoot
Yes.
England and Oxford
Yeah.
last week. That was your first time back in England since the London 30 event, the Rings of Power event.
Yeah. 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 So you make it sound like that was a long time ago. That was just like a year ago. So I look at it like, holy cow, I've been to England twice in the last, little over a year. Um yeah, no, it was fantastic. So for those who aren't familiar, Oxenmoot is the annual Tolkien conference that the Tolkien Society puts on, and this year was the 50th Oxenmoot. So big milestone for them. There was a great turnout. They had like 350 people attending in person, and another, I think they were saying 360 online. Caitlin T with Tolkien was there among many friends of the channel, but I see her in the chat, so I'm going to call her out. She photobombed my live stream at the Lamb and Flag. So so we did a live stream from the Lamb and Flag, which is one of the pubs that Tolkien and Lewis frequented during their time in Oxford. Got to talk with Brian Sibley, Christine Larson, Dr. Christine Larson, who is a professor of astronomy who does some really interesting lectures and papers on Tolkien. And we talked a bit about how accurate, for the most part, like Tolkien is very accurate when it comes to constellations and, in terms of astronomy, he did his homework for the most part. There's a few things like that she talked about that don't quite line up, but in general, he did a really good job. And then we talked with Sean Gunner, the chair of the Tolkien Society. We talked with the guys from the Prancing Pony podcast who just released a book. So yeah, it it was a great time. Any gathering like that, as you know, Justin and Cliff, you can both attest to any gathering like that where you get a bunch of Tolkien fans together, you just kind of end up nerding out for hours on end.
Oh, totally.
In
And
in
what's fun is I guess the best example I can give is at the Rings of Power London event that they invited
Hmm.
30 influencers to last
Yeah.
year. We were all kind of fans, kind of equal on there on at the behest of Amazon. Amazon brought us all together, and we're all just fans geeking out, talking about stuff all weekend. And now and then here you go to an event at the same place, Oxford, in the same dining hall that we went with Amazon, but your friends and peers are now hosting the event and doing the panels and putting on the whole event, and it's kind of like there it almost feels like there's the very little hierarchy in Tolkien fandom, because one day you could be hosting the event, doing a panel, and another day you're just a fan there to geek out with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I froze up for a little bit in the middle there. But yeah,
Mhm.
I one of the things that I love about the Tolkien fandom, and the vast majority you'll find, I found this in the YouTube circles as well as the folks, that I've met at these events. There's not much, like jockeying for position that goes on, or like, you know, I like to think that everyone's pretty, um, kind to each other and respectful of each other. And I think there's a natural collaborativeness, if that's a word. I don't know if that's a word. Uh, there's a natural aura of collaboration among people who live and breathe this stuff, and that probably is a testament to the professor's writings and the lessons that we learn from things like fellowships forming. And we I think for the most part we look at it and realize that we're all better together than we are, being divided into siloing ourselves off, so to speak.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because my personal experience as a guest at Oxonmoot was 20 years ago, but that certainly is great to know it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That quality has not changed. It's very egalitarian. There are people from different disciplines, but they're all very much, appreciative of scholarship and the real academic background, which is at the root of everything Oxonmoot does via the Tolkien Society. And you can meet such an interesting potpourri of different people who are very eager to share the most intellectual discussions and the most granular discussions about Tolkien's life and his legends and his languages. It's just a wonderful experience. And I'm really glad you described it that way, Matt. I'm really envious. Gotta admit, I mean, you were there for a special anniversary event. Justin, don't we have some stuff to show?
Well, I just found some photos that people were posting of different panels. Matt,
Oh my
I
God,
don't, I'm
the
not. I
FOMO
haven't
is
been
out of
to.
control.
I haven't been to Oxenmoot. Is it like Comic Con where there's overlapping panels, or is there just kind of one track of
Uh,
content?
Yeah, no, there are overlapping panels. Yeah, there was times where you kind of had to make a choice what you went to, and then there was some where it was, whether it was a keynote or a big speaker where um that was about the only thing going on. There might be some wider activities that lasted most of the day that you could, go during that time. But for example, like when Brian Sibley did his talk, I think the vast majority of people tried to get into that room. Um, and yeah,
Cliff,
there's a
Who is
lot of,
Brian Sibley, by the way?
oh
Brian
gosh.
Sibley is a giant. He is a luminary in the Tolkien world. Not only is he responsible for editing and putting together all the wonderful material in the recently published uh, is it the second? The
Fall of Numenor.
The Fall of Numenor from the Second Age stories. And he's the guy who edited together all the Second Age to make it digestible in that volume, The Fall of Numenor. But he has a more interesting and varied background as well. During the New Line Cinema era, in the first trilogy of Peter Jackson films, Brian Sibley wrote all of those tie-in books that were published with the release of Fellowship and Two Towers and Return of the King. And prior to that, he worked on the BBC radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. He has been around the Tolkien block and is one of the great connoisseurs of Tolkien in England today.
And one of the nicest people in the fandom, I will say.
Oh, isn't he, though?
I adore that guy.
Yeah,
he's so nice.
Amazing. Yeah.
I was very fortunate. Like I said, I got to chat with him for about 45 minutes on my live stream, and during the break, he signed my copy of Fall of Numenor that I packed in my luggage and everything and brought over.
Excellent.
But yeah, he's a wonderful guy, and he kind of hinted on the live stream that there might be more potential for more, that Fall of Numenor might not be the last Tolkien thing that he takes part in. So we'll see.
Oh, that was the big deal, right? He was the first author solely allowed to publish a Tolkien book besides Christopher.
So no, Carl Hostetter
edited.
Yeah, he did Nature of Middle Earth. That was a couple years ago now.
That was more kind of like a notes compendium, not a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Nature of Middle Earth is kind of like the 13th volume of History of Middle Earth a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar in presentation and tone and everything.
The chat room says, Monica in the chat room says Sibley's book should be required reading for the Rings of Power showrunners.
Yeah, why not? I would hope that they've already read all that stuff.
The chat room is so excited about the potential for the show to portray on screen what is in Brian Sibley's book of The Fall of Numenor. It's going to be one of the most exciting parts of the show.
Yeah, and one of the things that a lot of people are confused, and if there's anybody in the chat who's still confused on it, it's all Tolkien's writings. It's not, Brian didn't create anything original. That was a big concern. I saw a lot of ill-informed folks when the book was announced, thinking that he was writing an original story. What he's done is just, like Cliff said, he's compiled everything of the Second Age into this one book, and he showed at Oxonmoot. He pulled from, I believe it was either 13 or 14 different Tolkien books that had Second Age related writings in them that he pulled from. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted everything on Tolkien's Second Age prior to this book, you would have had to own all 13 of those books. I think what he's done is fantastic, and I love having that book.
The way he put them together, and he grabbed from all those sources and put them together in the most salient way possible.
Yes.
That's the big selling point of it all, really. Yeah. It's great. And, he was delightful to interview, wasn't he? I'm suddenly reminded in a nostalgic way of sitting down in his home. He actually invited Carlene Cordova and myself and our camera crew. We went inside his home. It was like the next day we were off to interview Terry Pratchett and talk about Good Omens and J.R.R. Tolkien. But that was Brian Sibley's day. And he was so generous to let us pile in a bunch of cameras and lights and stuff into his house. You guys had a much easier time of it, perhaps, in the public. Were you in the public house? That's what they call it, the public house. You were in the
public
pub,
house,
right?
Oh yes, we were in the pub.
You were in the pub, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like we got this. We were in the front room there. Justin, you were over there when we went to Oxford.
Oh, that's where
a little over a year ago.
Under construction. It was like
post-pandemic. It was just they were renovating it when we went before, and so that front room that we were in. was the room that we were in, and we had a live audience there. So folks from Oxonmoot attended, and we had a great crowd there. You can hear them, laughing and stuff in the background as we start joking around and
Yeah,
everything.
And to give you
it's
guys
so great.
a
It's
sense
so great.
of where this was at, and I think this video is still up on your YouTube, right?
Yes, yes, it is. Yep.
This pub that Tolkien and Lewis frequented, it's literally across the street
Yeah.
from what's
Eagle,
the famous
Eagle
pub?
and Child.
Eagle and Child,
Yeah,
Bird
which is
and a
not
Baby.
open. Which is not open. Yeah.
It's not open. It shut down, I believe, pre-pandemic, and it probably won't come back unless someone rich comes over and just says, I want to reopen it. But it's literally across the street. But when I say across the street, it's like an American highway street. It's like 8 lanes across the road.
It does feel like a lot of lanes. Yeah.
So I remember last year we were at this pub, and I wanted to go peek in the dusty old windows, and I started walking across the street, and there was a little bit of traffic, and I couldn't hear anything. And then I turn around, and all I see is Matt yelling at me, telling me to get out of the way. He was taking a time-lapse video with no cars in it.
You're no, it was just a regular shot, but yeah,
I was
it was
ruining
like
the shot.
like there wasn't
hilarious.
much traffic. Like there was nobody else except for Justin. The one thing in my shot aside from the Eagle and Child was Justin standing there.
Hilarious.
I'm
Waltzing
sorry
across
about
the
that.
street.
I hate to ruin someone's shot.
You guys, I'm telling you, the FOMO is very, very real. But I am dedicated to going next year to Oxonmoot 51.
Nice.
Next year. It's going to be a wonderful experience.
So a couple of photos I see here. Will Sherwood, who we've had on the show before, did a panel called "The Romantic Spirit in the Works of J.R.R. Tolkien." Of course, Will Sherwood is a PhD student at University of Glasgow. There's so many PhD Tolkien scholars in this group. And then I saw Bear McCreary did a virtual Q&A. Matt, were you at either one of those panels?
I was not. So I ever since Comic-Con
get into Bear.
Oh yeah, like they're popular. So like the Prancing Pony guys did a live recording, and I showed up too late to that one, and it was packed, so I wasn't able to get into that one. I ended up pulling it up on my phone. I ended up doing that a couple times where I would pull stuff up on my phone, or because I also wanted to go look around to Oxford. Like one of the places that we didn't see last year was Addison's Walk that I really wanted to go to, which is a walk that Tolkien and Lewis also went on. Like the most famous thing about it is that's basically where C.S. Lewis, where Tolkien finally like convinced C.S. Lewis to turn to his Christian faith.
Oh yes, that's when they had that famous conversation. They had the walk, they had the talk together.
Yes.
Where suddenly there was that persuasive point between two close friends, and Jack Lewis yielded to Professor Tolkien's persuasive and let the spirit come to him. And an awareness. That's a famous walk. That's famous.
And it's awesome.
Great.
Like so, Cliff,
great.
I know you would do the same thing because just knowing you, because as I was walking it, after we got done, I realized how many pictures of trees I had taken, because it's just like, oh, that's a really nice tree there. Oh, that's a gorgeous tree. And next thing I know, I have like 20 pictures of trees. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but make a, Fangorn appreciation post or something. But yeah, so all that to say, like I kind of try to mix like the going out and seeing stuff with going to sessions. So I kind of lean on the whole I can watch them later on demand a little bit. And I'll admit that I'm not I don't get perfect attendance at these things. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. And it looks like Sarah Brown from Signum University with the Tolkien professor also did a panel on women in Middle Earth. I think Tea with Tolkien's in the chat room, and she went to a few of these. But every panel was well attended. And
yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people there. It's 350 people in person.
Wow.
And I don't know how many people the rooms hold, but I will say the English do not have our same love of air conditioning. So it gets toasty in those rooms when it's like 80 degrees. So yeah, that's another reason to get out and walk.
Did all these take place in classrooms in Oxford? Like you can say.
So yeah, it's at St. Anne's. Is the college there, because there's a ton of colleges there in Oxford, but it's St. Anne's, and yeah, they're like in lecture halls and classrooms. They have like I think it was called a dealer's room, where they had people, Yenny Dolphin, who is a fantastic Tolkien artist. She had a booth there selling some of her art prints.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I got a really cool Hobbit door enamel pin from her. But yeah, she had some of her artwork there, which I absolutely love her work. And then they had an art gallery kind of art show kind of thing. And actually one of my moderators, Dirk, or he's known as Feanor on YouTube is what his username is. He had these amazing sigils, however you say it, like the emblems of like Luthien, and he had custom made one for Sauron, and he ended up gifting that to Brian Sibley, which was pretty cool. So
yeah, I love walking around the grounds, just to go to the open field of Christchurch Meadow, which is just to the south of the Christchurch College. We got lots of B-roll footage there. We interviewed other people involved with the Tolkien community there. And one of my favorite experiences at nighttime to walk around the beautiful old buildings and trees all around. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like Oxford. It's remarkable. And I got a good flavor for it once again, watching that Nicholas Hoult movie, the Tolkien biopic. Yeah. There was a good flavor of being on Oxford campus in that film. It was great. Love it.
Yeah. And how easy, for those that are interested in flying like you did from the U.S. or wherever, how easy is it to get to Oxford to attend Oxonmoot?
I mean, you hop on a plane. Someone else flies it, which is nice. So you don't have to worry about that. I mean, it's a flight and a bus ride, basically, or a train ride.
You fly into London and then drive into the country, right?
Yeah. It's not bad at all. And they actually they have housing for folks like there on campus too. So they try to make it as easy as possible on folks.
I wonder if anybody kept track of Tolkien's dormitory room. Like,
oh gosh,
that'd be more popular than going to Gryffindor common room. That would be much more popular.
That.
I did
Tolkien's dormitory room tour?
I did go to the Harry Potter studio tour in London. Though.
Oh my goodness!
So
okay,
I did get a little bit of that in too.
How big?
That's awesome.
How big is that? Here in Hollywood, you can do the backlot tour in an hour at Universal Studios.
Oh no!
What's the Harry Potter?
Oh gosh, I think we were there for at least 4 hours. Yeah. It's big. They've got a ton of the sets and props and costumes and everything. Like honestly, going through it, about half the time I was thinking like, wow, this is really cool. The other half of the time I was thinking, gosh, I wish they had this for Lord of the Rings. Like I really want to walk into a room because one of the last things they have is the bigature of Hogwarts Castle that they use for the exteriors. And when we walked into that room, I was just like, gosh, I want this for Minas Tirith. I want like that huge Minas Tirith bigature in a studio tour like this, and then that to be like the final thing that you see. It would just be amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of that stuff like in New Zealand at Weta. I'm sure they've got stuff on display and weaponry and stuff like that. But yeah, to have a full blown museum essentially dedicated to those films would be incredible.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about that over the years. Indeed, the Te Papa National Museum in Wellington actually had a lengthy, couple of years long display of the most significant bigatures that were created by Weta Workshop. And those bigatures, believe it or not, were in the New Zealand National Museum in Te Papa. And I've never seen anything so breathtaking and amazing as seeing that Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower itself.
Yeah.
The Barad-dûr bigature is insane. And all the conversations always lead back to what you just said, Matt. There are plans, there's talk, there's something going on in the background to have exactly such a permanent museum style or a permanent exhibit experience, just as you mentioned. But
That would be awesome.
when is that going to happen? I don't know.
I don't
I'll tell
know,
you when
but
it's happening,
I'm in
because
favor.
Peter Jackson has gifted most of the bigatures from Lord of the Rings to the George Lucas Museum, which is currently under construction in downtown Los Angeles. Should be open by spring of 2025, maybe even a soft opening next year. But the ultimate destination of the bigatures are going to be right here at the
downtown
George
LA
Lucas Museum of Cinematic Arts, right behind
That's
UCLA.
exciting. That's exciting.
Huge new. It's going to be right next to the space shuttle. LA is one of the few museums that have one of the decommissioned space shuttles with the huge rocket.
At the Natural History Museum.
That Natural History and Science Museum downtown LA, and then right behind it, you can walk across the green lawn. You can look at the Natural History Museum where dinosaurs are. Turn to your left, you can see the space shuttle in its full upright mode, and then turn to your right, and there is the museum, George Lucas Museum, full of bigatures from Lord of the Rings.
And turned behind you is the most magnificent rose garden. There's a beautiful gazebo, an endless rose garden that goes on for acres, and it's smack in the middle of the college campus. I do a lot of weddings there in that rose garden. It's gorgeous there.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
That's amazing.
It's cool.
LA hopefully will be a destination.
Let's go
for Lord of the Rings.
Let's go.
I did not know about this. Was this public news? I have not heard about this
I believe,
at all.
because I think the George Lucas Museum folks did a Comic-Con
talked about it a while ago
last year. Like it was a surprise, and they got a small room, and it was like triple capacity. The line was triple capacity. Like I think they underestimated just how popular the George Lucas Museum of Cinematic Arts is going to be, because and you guys have all seen those videos from Mythbuster Adam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's been many times to Peter Jackson's warehouse in New Zealand, where Peter Jackson has HAL 9000. He has all of these huge, big things. Peter Jackson has been collecting other movies' memorabilia, but his own movie memorabilia, like Lord of the Rings, he's given to George Lucas and his museum. So that was the plan. Things always change, of course. Since they announced that 3 or 4 years ago, Peter Jackson has sold Weta Digital for $2 billion. And Weta Workshop has developed a bunch of museums on their own in New Zealand, in France, in China. Weta's in the museum making business now. So it could be possible that Peter opens his own movie museum with the skill set that Weta has earned in the last 4 years. So those are the current plans. Emma Jane
I'm in favor of any of those. I like all those ideas.
Me too.
Give me a museum with Lord of the Rings stuff. That's all I want.
That's great. That's
so,
great.
the Harry Potter exhibit in London really solidified your desire that
Oh, heck
a
yes.
Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings thing could be just as good, if not
Oh,
better.
heck yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I think
And it
better.
doesn't need to be in New Zealand
100%.
necessarily.
Not
Like,
necessarily. No. I mean, there's always fun to have an excuse to go to New Zealand. Like I'm really looking forward to
Yes.
going for the first time, but yeah, something closer to home, I would definitely get
yeah, LA is
excited
a
about.
great city for this stuff.
Right. But yeah, but New Zealand would feel right too, It's
They
home
have
to
they have
those
the
movies.
landscape.
Yeah, yeah, they've got like you could go to Hobbiton and go to a Lord of the Rings museum all in the same trip. That'd be pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
Mhm.
speaking of other things that are happening in London, I don't think you had a chance to go there, but we had spies here at the OneRing.net.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday, drove around Amazon's brand new studios in London near Shepperton.
Oh.
This is not Bray Studios. This is about 20 minutes away from Bray Studios in Windsor, of the famous
Hmm.
Windsor Castle. Um,
Intriguing. Oh,
so
this is
this
the
is
one we've been talking about that was so close to the royal family's property line.
No, that's Bray. They had been
Oh,
filming it at
okay.
Bray Studios, while Amazon was seemingly behind schedule on their actual movie studio that they've purchased from Shepperton. And so they made a deal with Shepperton Studios, where a bunch of movies like James Bond and Star Wars and everything have been filmed for the last 60 years. And then Amazon bought the land of farms right next to Shepperton and have built a bunch of new sound stages and studios. And so we gave you a preview last year because I went and had a mosey on over. So those are the brand new sound stages. It is close to being done. That yellow fencing is temporary construction fencing, and it's starting to come down. So they are getting really close to opening this, and it's I don't know if I can zoom in, but the sign, they've put some signage on that building in the Rings of Power font that says the power of experience. So Amazon's brand new studios have a big banner right there at the top of their building in the Rings of Power font that says the power of experience.
What does that
And
mean?
then below it is Amazon at Shepperton.
Huh.
What on earth does that really mean?
Amazon is trying to tell you that they have the power and the experience to make world-class television production with
Okay.
their sign at Shepperton.
But isn't the sign for like people going to work there?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know.
Or is
There's
this
billboard. You
is this
put
facing?
billboards on sound stages. You know.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasn't sure if yeah.
as you're driving
Yeah.
by, everybody can see this banner. That
Oh,
says,
okay. I thought it was
Okay.
like I thought these were like, secret behind
behind the gates.
closed
No,
gates.
this is
Yeah, kind of
is
thing. And I was like, this is like I don't know. It made me think of like the Notre Dame play like a champion today, but it's a little less I don't know, internally inspiring, I guess.
It's interesting. In the live chat, Otaku Senpai says, we'll see if they can learn from experience.
the we have been reporting for 2 years now, ever since they surprisingly moved production from New Zealand to the UK, that Shepperton was going to become the permanent home of Rings of Power production. Unfortunately, the building of the studios was behind schedule, and now we know it's over a year behind schedule. So they didn't shoot season 2 in any of these. But with that signage and with that font and with that clever use of the word the power of experience, it is quite. This is as close as we can get to a confirmation that the Rings of Power will be shooting here in future seasons, with the intent of building semi-permanent sets that they can use for multiple shows and multiple seasons and multiple spin-offs going forward. Basically, what we've heard is Amazon wants to build Khazad-dûm once and use that soundstage for the next 10 years for everything. That way they don't have to keep rebuilding it and redoing it and rebuilding it and redoing it, which is what happened by moving production from New Zealand to the UK. They had to rebuild everything from scratch. So the goal is to film the rest of Rings of Power here at Shepperton, and any and all spin-offs that they're planning on, and potentially, to Matt's point with Harry Potter, potentially open a fan visitation experience for Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, here at Shepperton. So when they're not filming, fans...
When you say visitation, it makes it sound like a funeral or something.
I couldn't find my words there. So, so one of the ideas floated inside Amazon was to build Moria and Khazad-dûm, and then in the months where they're not filming Rings of Power, it would be a tourist attraction where you could come visit and see the sets yourself.
Oh, here you go, tying it back into...
That'd be kind of cool.
Tying it back into what we just said earlier about the popularity of visiting large-scale sets for Lord of the Rings / Harry Potter. Okay. Well...
And look, look, I don't know what you guys think about Rings of Power. I think we've all have our public opinions on that. I still would want to visit the sets. I would want to walk into the caves of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, I would love to walk into the caves of Khazad-dûm. I would like to see if they built a real giant convex lens or if that was just a CG element. That'd be cool to see those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think, obviously it's not, at this point it's one season in that, was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, including myself. I think the remaining seasons will kind of determine what kind of potential audience something like that would have. Because, you look at, obviously, Lord of the Rings made New Zealand a huge tourist destination, to the scale that it wasn't before. So I don't think you could immediately count on this to be the kind of pilgrimage trip for people that
the Harry Potter
that New Zealand is. Or even the Harry Potter thing, because
that's
those
something
have,
else. Yeah.
Those have, a different track record and a longer track record. So yeah, I think the ongoing success of that will depend on, how the coming years unfold.
And to your point, Matt,
indeed,
people are still going to the Harry Potter experience there in London. In fact, you have to book your tickets well in advance. You cannot just show up on the day,
right?
Because it is that popular and that sold. It sells out almost every day. You have to book months in advance. And this is after the fact that there have been 2 Harry Potter Dumbledore sequels that have gotten terrible reviews.
Oh, they're awful. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So, they're terrible. But there's not much. I don't think there even is any. Well, there might be very little from those films there. It's almost exclusively the 8 Potter films. But
you know what? Well, there's not just Warner Brothers has decided to build studio specific attractions. We've seen Universal do it, but on a very different scale. We even saw the animation studio of Ghibli in Japan make an animation museum separate from an outdoor botanical gardens. So there's a themed garden, which is like a themed park experience, and there's also a building, which is the museum house that has all the special exhibits from the animated careers of Takahata and Miyazaki and all the artists who worked for them. So there are a lot of different studios who have taken different business approaches to having extra attractions that are what you'd call extracurricular elements of bringing the audience and the fans together outside of the cinema and outside of home video. And I'm fascinated by this, especially with the weird news we've been reporting for months about the Embracer Group and that vague threat that they have in their basic press release, saying that they're also considering those theme park options for Middle-earth based intellectual property. So if Ghibli can do it, Universal certainly has done it successfully. Disney, more than anybody else, has obviously done this successfully. And if they've got Harry Potter exhibits and future George Lucas Film Museum pieces to feature all Lord of the Rings, museum pieces, why the heck wouldn't we see other amalgams or other new business ventures being announced? I hate to say it, but we're going to have to spill the news and spill the beans as soon as we hear it, whether it is a darkly cynical story or whether it's a happy, optimistic story. I don't know yet, but we are going to be reporting on
I forget.
Middle-earth theme parks. Embracer Group.
There's
bringing Middle-earth theme parks. It is directly in concert with what we're talking about now.
It's not happening. There's no theme parks right now.
Oh, not now, but I'm saying in the future.
But I'm
just saying
be.
In the future.
I'm
saying, look, I just delineated successful points
what
of different studios making these tourist event places.
I wasn't sure on that either.
Yeah, what were you talking about? Dark and deadly press releases?
No, they made a very vague threat in the original press release. That's my way of describing it. That's my editorial spin on it. Okay, work with me, guys. The idea for some fans, the whole idea of the fans at Oxonmoot and the intellectual crowd and the academic crowd that we were just hanging out with in Oxonmoot, they're not going to be fans of Embracer Group coming out and saying, here's a bright cotton candy colored theme park based on Lord of the Rings. They're not going to like that at all. And there's going to be division. There will be division in the Tolkien community when the Embracer Group literally does what Studio Ghibli is doing, what Universal is doing, and now what you've just announced. Amazon is even going to use this facility part-time as a tourist destination. It's going to happen sooner than later, is what I'm telling you. And I'm just telling the audience, be prepared. Be prepared.
You don't want the theme park?
I didn't say that. I just said, I've always said I'm ambivalent about it, that I would go, but there's a cynical side to that. There's another side to that story.
What's cynical about a theme park that everybody in the world wants?
Because it's a work of literature. It's a masterpiece of academic achievement and literary achievement that the Tolkien estate and the family would not want anything to do. Theme park version. They won't want that. There's a lot of Tolkien fandom that likewise will not want that when it eventually happens. That's all I'm saying. Just be prepared for the inevitable is all I'm saying. Is that I'm not trying to be the harbinger of bad news, but I'm telling you it's gonna happen. No,
he's right that there will definitely be folks who just at the news of a Lord of the Rings theme park will freak out. And there's definitely concern there, and I think it all depends on execution. So many times it comes down to execution, whether it's an adaptation, theme park, whatever. The thing with the theme park, I look at what Universal did with Harry Potter, their Harry Potter World theme parks, because I think they're fantastic and they're self-contained and they respect.
They changed the game.
The books,
they really did.
It's incredible, and a lot of the the concerns of the Disneyfication of Tolkien, I think is what you're essentially looking at here, because Tolkien did have a certain level of contempt, I guess you could say, for the Disney method of doing things, and
yes, indeed.
that came up. Famously, for those of you who have looked into the history of the Harry Potter theme parks, that was part of the reason that Disney did not get the rights to do Harry Potter theme parks, because the author J.K. Rowling didn't want things like Mickey Mouse dressed as Harry Potter wandering around. She wanted it to be its own thing. It's self-contained, separate from everything else, and I think that's how anything, if a Lord of the Rings theme park would ever be made, it would have to be in that manner, and all of it would all depend on the execution. And like, yeah, I mean, there's going to be Lord of the Rings things made and that come out, and they're designed to make money. That's how it is with all of these things.
Yeah.
But they can be done, with love and passion and respect for Tolkien and his world. And yeah, I'm totally on team Lord of the Rings theme park. I would love to go to a Lord of the Rings
Look,
theme park,
I'm not being
especially if it's done well. If it's done
you're
well, if it's not done well, then my
well,
interest
yeah.
Execution
level
is
wanes.
everything.
Yeah,
And again, I
you're
would
right.
go
You're
to a
right.
Rings of Power set visit if it's open to the public, paying admission. I would totally go to a Casa Doom set visit
I would too.
Oh
situation.
yeah, yeah,
I would too. Look,
Like, because
I'm
we love this world, and
yeah.
execution is everything, but it
I
doesn't
agree.
reduce our love and passion for this world ever.
That's true. And I appreciate that perspective, Matt and Justin. I'm going to put a button on this because I am guilty as anyone of being a mass consumer of theme parks. Everybody knows me. I love all the theme parks from Epcot in Orlando to the Disneyland and the parks I go to here. And I'm sure that I would have a very adaptive interest, and I would really be able to easily push my interest away from cynicism to go to a Middle Earth theme park, like you said, caveat emptor, depending upon the gracefulness and the intelligence and the integrity brought to the production of the theme park. And again, all eyes on Studio Ghibli for making a botanical themed outdoor experience that is not tacky and doesn't even have rides or things like that. A very different, holistic approach to doing a theme experience. But I like the idea in theory. I'm just predicting there will be some loud and strenuous voices in the room when we ultimately break the news. That's all I'm saying. Now,
Well,
moving on.
speaking of making money on the back of Tolkien and exploiting his legacy, let's check in on the One Ring Kickstarter, which just passed $1 million. There
Yeah.
is 41 hours to go. Matt, you just supported this.
I did. Yeah, I was texting you earlier. I ordered mine yesterday. I ended up getting both the 5e and the One Ring versions. Because I'm a
What are you
completionist, I
actually
guess.
buying? You're buying a rule book. You're buying
Yeah,
an
it's a rule
outline
book,
of
so
a
you can
story.
yeah, so you can run a campaign with this. And I'm sure Cliff's probably done his fair share of D&D and
Oh
the One
yeah.
Ring and stuff like that throughout the
Oh
years.
yeah.
But yeah, this is basically the campaign, and there's all kinds of stretch goals that add um, you know, extra bits of the game. Like there's maps that get added to the books, and I think, I don't know if they'd be called side missions or whatever. I'm not as familiar, I think, as Cliff, but yeah, there's additional stretch goals, and I think they've actually passed the point where they would unlock the last stretch goal
Let's
Yeah,
scroll
they
down.
did.
today. Yeah,
They did.
so
They've got a
uh,
million. They've got $1 million, way, way, way beyond their first
initial
very
goal. Yeah.
conservative goal, actually. But look at how well they've done. Getting more expansions for an adventure means that if you have a good team of players, you've got a good dungeon master, and you have a great adventure party, you could keep the adventure going, and there are more rewards for your characters. It's really kind of great that they are offering so many cool things in this Kickstarter, and I'm very pleased to see them doing so well.
So
That's great.
this One Ring Kickstarter is an official tabletop role playing game. So it's basically just like D&D, just like watching Critical Role, but
Mhm.
everything is Lord of the Rings. The characters, the settings, the unique magic rules or whatever, the race descriptions. That's all taken from the books, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, right?
Mhm.
So if you're a fan of Critical Role and you play Dungeons and Dragons with your friends, this is the one to get. And you don't need anything else. This is like the latest expansion, but you don't need anything else. Like, you don't need the original book to jump in, right? Like this.
Right. Yeah.
This is it. You just support this Kickstarter. You get these books, and you can start. You don't need anything else.
Yeah. And they
Except
do. If you do want, yeah, and if you do want some of the back catalog that they've got, because they've got quite a few now. They've got one that's Shire Adventures. They've got a couple based in Eriador, and then they've got the what they I can't remember if it was last year, a couple years ago, that they did the second edition. This that kind of kickstarted this whole thing. Kickstarted on Kickstarter. This whole kind of renaissance, I guess, of the One Ring role playing game. That also went just absolutely crazy with the level of support that it got. But they've got that as add-ons if you do want to get some of their back catalog. But yeah, I got to talk to some of the folks at Gen Con who are behind these, and they gave me the heads up that the Kickstarter was starting in August. But yeah, it sounds like this, they will likely continue their march through Middle Earth, and so far the reviews have been really good of what they've done so far.
The entry level donation Kickstarter is $23 US, and you get a PDF version of the book. And I'm just looking at some of these other rewards. Mm-hmm. This $100, it's $109 or about, includes an exclusive art print by John Howe.
Mm-hmm. Oh no!
And
love it.
Cliff says, "Oh no,"
because I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker. I love that stuff. This is so great.
What else we got? If you want to go all in for $100, you get the collector's edition of Moria, Shadow of Khazad-dûm, including a full PDF, the book, the large Moria cloth map. That's what you put on the game table, right? Like the cloth map. And then you get an art print by John Howe, and that is that show. $23 all the way up to $109. Incredible.
And then the art print, I think, I'm not 100% sure. It almost looks like a Balrog on a throne. With some orc worshippers kind of thing.
So this is the cloth map that you get, and then let's see if we can find.
Yeah, if you keep going down to the deluxe bundle. If you keep scrolling down,
that's it. That's the John Howe art print. That is a Balrog on the throne. What?
I think so. Yeah.
Why? If John Howe painted this, why doesn't Rings of Power Balrog look like this? This is such a unique, conceptual idea of the Balrog with his
I think it looks
vampire-like wings.
I think it looks pretty in line with some of other John Howe's earlier stuff.
It does, but why didn't Rings of Power use this Balrog? This is
because they wanted it to look. They wanted it to look like the Peter Jackson Balrog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would have been neat to have that same shot scroll down where the feather falls into the cavern, and rather than like the Balrog kind of waking up, like he's sat on a throne like this, and this is the shot that reveals.
No, but the whole thing is that they wake him up, like it was kind of silly that he was like awake and mad about a leaf,
Yeah, what was he pissed off about?
Yeah, like if anything, it should have been like maybe the leaf burns up just by being close to him, close. and then he's like sleeping or something, or you see like his nostrils flare or something.
Did the leaf have
like
the
that
black
eye
stuff?
open up?
I forget.
Did the what?
Did the leaf that fell down have the black stuff that's taking over Gil-galad's golden tree?
No, because didn't it get healed by the mithril?
It was the one that was healed by the mithril.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to play with, like the leaf falls down, but still has some black stuff, and that's what the Balrog responds to? Like
In response to the black stuff?
yeah, like evil
The corruption?
molasses.
Like the evil molasses was part of his corruption? No.
The whole black stuff on the tree reminds me of Venom, right? It's just a
Yes.
big blob of black stuff that corrupts whatever it touches.
Oh my gosh.
Wasn't it just the ultimate fan service moment? Just to have the Balrog there?
It was a
Just a
trailer
fan
moment.
service moment.
I wouldn't call
Yeah,
it
I mean,
fan
it's the
service. I
trailer.
would call it the
It's the
trailer
trailer.
moment for Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's what
Someone
it was.
said, "Hey guys, we need a Comic-Con moment that is going to make Hall H scream," and it worked.
That would be it. It did work at the time. Yeah,
It worked, and it got us hype on it. Speaking
I'm
of,
curious to see, like, will that Balrog come? Like, when is he gonna come into play? Or
Right,
like,
when
will,
does he
will
come
they
back?
just forget about it? Like, I have to assume that they're moving up the destruction of Moria to fit into the show instead of being in the Third Age. They're gonna have it
Yeah,
happen
we're
sometime
gonna
in
see
this.
the
But
destruction
Please
of Mor-
don't.
No, wait.
that's my
Please
guess.
don't.
I'm not advocating for this. I'm not
No.
advocating for this.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I know. But we've talked about it before, and I'm
It's
always expressing my
Chekhov's.
dismay.
It's Chekhov's
Yes.
Balrog. If you see
It's
the
Chekhov's
Balrog,
yeah.
Wait,
you
wait, wait.
have
If you
to
show a
see it.
Balrog in the first act, it's going to be important in the third act.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
I hope I'm wrong.
Wait. So the Balrog has taken over Moria by the time Balin and Ori
Oh.
show up.
Well, that's in the third age,
Yeah,
after the events
Yeah.
of The Hobbit.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
The
Yes.
Balrog takes over Moria in the year 1980 of
Of the
the
third age.
Third Age.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's almost
Interesting.
2,000 years after the
I'm
rings
okay
cut
with
from
the time
Sauron's
compression.
finger.
If they want
Are
to time
you?
compress that, I'm okay with it. You know what? Let me see it. Show me it. Don't tell. Show me the destruction.
Sure.
No
okay,
dialogue. Just
Just-
a Balrog going on a rampage, eating a
but There's
bunch
always
of
going to be
dwarves.
one of us in the room with you, Justin, saying, "You know what? Tisk, tisk, tisk. They're playing fast and loose with the rules of the chronology." We're always going to be there for you.
If
Okay?
if it's good, that's the thing. It all depends on if it's good.
Okay.
I'll still visit this.
Okay.
Speaking of further financial adventures in the milking of Lord of the Rings fans, we are reminded that in a week's time, the Hobbit Illustrated Edition is coming out. A new Hobbit version. What is so special about this, Matt and Cliff? Do you guys even know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd say milking. I mean, it's certainly, lightening our wallets with all these things happening. But no, this is actually the continuation of the book series. They've done Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion already, but it's exclusively illustrated by Tolkien. So,
his
no
watercolors.
other artists.
yeah. So in
Yeah.
the past, chances are people in the chat here, and I know Cliff and I definitely on our shelves have beautiful Alan Lee or Ted Naismith or John Howe illustrated editions of all these books over the years. Now, the interesting thing is The Hobbit, has traditionally been published with it's been published before with a lot of Tolkien's illustrations. But
And
I
he
think
designed the original dust jacket. Of
yes,
course.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
gorgeous. I love that dust jacket.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
But yeah, but I think they've, basically have now taken everything that he, ever drew relating to The Hobbit and put it in here. So it's probably the most illustrated edition, if that makes sense. It's probably got the most illustrated edition. That's what they should have named it at this point. But no, so this
funny.
continues that series. So they did, like I said, they did Silmarillion, they did Lord of the Rings. And they're really, really nice editions. They're probably, my favorite editions that I've got on my shelf, especially I sprang for the deluxe versions personally of Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings. There it is.
Wow,
Yes.
these are terrible ads to go with.
Yes, I don't know.
What? IGN, you're killing me.
Crop, Justin.
I can't crop this. It makes the ads bigger.
Anyway,
And now there's 3 ways to get rid of your old mattress. Well, anyway, as we were
But yes,
saying,
All right,
so
I think I figured it out.
the deluxe editions are, yeah, there it is. I adore
Funny.
these deluxe editions. They're
Do you
really
know
really
there
nice.
is
How much
there?
was this, by the way? Because
Let me look.
it says the $75 for the hardcover, or $60 now.
Yeah,
So the deluxe edition must be. Let's take a look.
It is 151 on Blackwell's.
There you go.
oh my
151.
goodness.
Yeah,
and you get
for the deluxe-
slipcase.
The deluxe is
those slipcases are nuts, but they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous.
yeah, the deluxe ones you have to order from the UK as well.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
this
usually-
edition
yeah.
of the Hobbit.
I usually do Blackwell's. I will say, like, for those who are particular about if you're a collector and like care about them not getting scuffed at all, like Blackwell's does a good job of packing them securely so that they don't get banged up. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So this slipcover Hobbit edition is the classic text. Is it with the most Tolkien illustrations ever in one book? No Alan Lee, no John Howe, no anybody. It's just J.R.R. Tolkien. His sketches, his notes, and his watercolors, as we
And
just
his
showed.
cartography, and more importantly, his original maps and his drafts of his maps. No, there's a distinct style that is now replicated all around the world, and it's how Christopher Tolkien and John Ronald Tolkien drew their maps for their fantasy worlds, and it kind of sets the standard. So yeah, there is something unique about his skills as a watercolorist and as a painter. It is not to be undersold. J.R.R. Tolkien was very, very talented watercolorist and a very talented artist. He really was.
Well,
that was one of the coolest things. At the Prancing Pony Moot up in Milwaukee at Marquette University. For those of you who are in the U.S. and don't know this, Marquette University is one of the biggest places that has a collection of Tolkien original writings. Yeah, they have a lot of Tolkien.
Oh yeah.
Stuff, and like it's like Oxford and then Marquette University here in Milwaukee, which is crazy, but it's amazing. And they had an exhibition called The Art of the Manuscript, and you guys should check out their book. They made a book of it so that you get images of everything they had on display. But seeing those in person was incredible, and like you could see on these original watercolors that he did. Like the guy was pretty darn good as an artist too.
You sold me at 50 pictures. Like, this is The Hobbit with pictures. So I think I can read this now. So I'm gonna putting this on my Christmas list.
You haven't even read The Hobbit, Justin? I always make fun of you for Lord of the Rings, but goodness,
you've read The Hobbit, haven't you, Justin?
No, I read Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit is the one that's the tough one. Why would I want to read a kid's book? Like, I like the movies. There's no way a book can live up to the movies. With the giant stone giants that are like wrestling in the rain, and Thranduil in the book can never be as good as Lee Pace in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what?
Justin, oh my god. He's doing this just to rile us up, Cliff.
He is, that, right? He is, and I'm not taking the not taking the bait.
Not falling for it.
Not falling for it. No, you know what?
He lost me when he claimed that he read Lord of the Rings. I don't believe him. From then on out, I tuned him out.
In other news, Sean Astin has won his Screen Actors Guild vote of confidence. And so now, not only did Sean Astin win leadership position at SAG, if you look at the totals, he is there at the top. Sean Astin, our guy Samwise, got the most votes in all of Screen Actors Guild. That means people and
I was gonna say, explain that for the non-Hollywood people like me.
Screen Actors Guild is a union.
I know that. I know what that is. But what does this vote?
This
You
vote,
said it's a vote.
every few years, the union members vote on their leaders. It's the leadership vote.
Okay.
Who gets to be in charge of our union, and who is the person or people that actually negotiate with the studios on behalf of everybody in the union.
Got it. Okay.
So they just had an election at the Screen Actors Guild to vote for the most trusted actor in their union that they trust to negotiate with the studios during the strike to get the best deal possible. And the person with the most votes was our man Samwise, Sean Astin, with
How
over
about that?
1,000 more votes than the second place. But you know, a lot of these names are familiar. Jerry Ryan, you know, Elliot Gould. You know, there's a ton of wonderful people.
Fran Drescher,
all actors. So congrats to Sean Astin. By the way, if I'm
big time congrats to Sean.
If my memory serves me right, having read Lord of the Rings, Samwise is the only character in Middle Earth that is voted to political power. Correct?
Yeah, from what I understand, yes. It's like Samwise getting to be the sheriff. I mean, the mayor. The mayor of the Shire after the War of the Rings.
Is voted
of Mickle
mayor
Delving. Of
yes,
Mickle
the
Delving.
mayor of Mickle
for
Delving.
a record
That's
like
right.
7
terms.
7 consecutive terms.
7-year terms. Yeah.
So
That's
the
fantastic.
only democratically elected character in Tolkien's books is Samwise. So it makes sense that Sean Astin, the actor who portrayed Samwise, is already on his way up his political career. So excited about
It's
that.
really good news. The other bit of news rumoring
Now,
that
I will say, I'm pretty sure that I think the Master of Lake Town is an elected position as well. I think it is.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, but
They
that's a
made
hard
Jim-
thing. I
right,
can't comment on it.
I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, Tolkien Gateway. The Masters had always been elected from among the old and wise. Elected.
Elected,
Booyah, Justin.
Oh, from the old and wise.
Yep, that's right. So,
Why does it feel he's like a scummy mayor that nobody likes though?
I didn't say he was a good Master of Lake Town.
But how do you
I'm
get
saying he was
elected?
that's probably some side story we'll hear about someday. There's
don't give Warner Brothers any ideas. We do not
no.
want a feature film on the Maester of Lake Town starring Stephen Fry and
Alfred Lickspittle. Yes.
No, God.
Lickspittle.
His unibrow attendant. Okay, no. All right.
Okay, if there's
Sorry.
anybody in here that watches my live stuff, they will know that the character of any adaptation that I despise the most is Alfred.
Yes.
I cannot
absolutely.
stand Alfred. It drives me nuts.
It's exactly the same. Look, there's other interesting news that Fellowship of Fans has dropped within the past 48 hours that regular form Sauron has been filmed on the set with Celebrimbor. Not Sauron as Halbrand, not Sauron as Anatar, but Sauron as Sauron has been filmed for season 2 in the scenes of Eregion with Celebrimbor. I just saw him post that. It's juicy gossip coming from our buddies at Fellowship of Fans. I don't know what to make of it.
Interesting.
But
I think it means R.I.P. Celebrimbor is probably what it means.
It probably means the end is near for Uncle Brimby. Yeah.
Oh man, we knew you too soon. Wait, no, gone too soon. Knew you
Gone too
late.
soon. Yeah. We knew you too little.
Too little.
Knew
you too little.
Lick Splittle. Yes. In other confirmed news, not rumors, not gossip, but other confirmed news. Let me see if I can bring this up.
Okay.
A German film site, moviezine.de, got an interview with Charlotte
Deutschland.
Brandstrom,
who
directed the volcano episodes in season 1 of Rings of Power. She is back for directing a few more episodes, and she
Yeah.
confirms with the magazine. Curiously, the article was removed from their website, which means it's probably very accurate, and Amazon probably did not approve of this information getting out. Charlotte Brandstrom confirms she is directing episode 1, the pilot, episode 3, and episode 7 and episode 8,
which are the big climactic conclusions with the big battle at the end.
The big battle of Aragion is supposed to be a 2-episode, 2-hour battle, and it is being directed by a singular visionary, Charlotte Brandstrom.
In the books, Tolkien refers to it as the War of the Elves and Sauron.
Okay. Charlotte says, I would probably say that the last 2 episodes, which Cliff was just talking about, that Sauron is on set with Celebrimbor. Charlotte says the last 2 episodes are a bit more connected, at least time-wise. And there I had a giant battle again towards the end of the 7th episode.
Oh, dear.
So the big battle is at the end of the 7th episode and probably continuing on to the beginning of the 8th episode. So big 2-episode battle.
She directed the battle with the Southlanders and the orcs under Adar. That was all Charlotte Brandstrom episodes.
Yeah,
she directed.
she did the big Southlands battle and the creation of Mordor with the volcano. And then she also goes on to say for season 2, the first episode is a little more standalone. I directed the 1st and 3rd and the 7th and 8th. The plot in the 1st and the 3rd builds up to what is to happen and is a bit more self-contained. But there is a lot going on in the 7th and 8th episodes. It's a very explosive end to the season. Matt, your thoughts? Explosive end to season 2 of Rings of Power.
Sorry, I was looking up other elected offices in Middle Earth. I found some interesting ones, so I can bring that in later, but there's some other interesting ones. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't dive too deeply into spoiler territory, but
all right.
I think there's clues here that we will see the War of the Elves and Sauron commence, at least. Like I would think it wouldn't resolve. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe with all the condensing and compressing that's going on, maybe it'll essentially be, a war of one battle.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of it lasting for years, because Tolkien said it lasted for years, but we're going to end up seeing one big battle, right?
Well,
yeah,
let me ask you.
But I think we're going to see, like I said, spoiler alert for books that have been out for decades, but R.I.P. Celebrimbor, I think is in store. I think
bye Uncle Bimby.
It's kind of hinting, I think reading the tea leaves, it seems like Sauron's gonna, kind of unleash hell on Eregion.
Why does she say it's a very explosive end to the season? Let me ask you this: what explosions do we know of?
Do you know? Is that? I don't know if that's literal though.
Okay.
Like,
not literal.
Yeah,
she's
I think it just means
because
last going out with a
bang. There was an explosion of the pyroclastic clouds, a word that none of us knew until episode 6.
Yeah, we did. I studied the eruption of Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii.
There's
and
no
Herculaneum.
reason we should all know this word
in school
because they never say that word in the show.
Flow.
They never say that word in the show. It was just all fan discourse. It was a waste of my time.
You know what? She's calling it explosive because we're going to have a big thing like the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones. Suddenly, everyone's like, "What happened to Ned Stark? Oh my God, what happened to Sean Bean?" That's what she's talking about for those people who don't know what's going to happen to major characters.
That's interesting.
That's what she means.
And Cliff, she also basically kind of hints at, almost confirms our earliest reporting. Cliff, how long have we been telling everybody that episode 1 of season 2 is a bottle episode, as you call a bottle episode, of Sauron retelling the story of season 1 from his perspective.
We've been reporting that for months and months and months, but
And
I'd like to know who our secret sources are.
well,
You haven't told me.
Here it is, and here's Charlotte Brancham, the director of that episode, saying
Oh.
the first episode is a little more standalone.
Okay, that's gonna be the talk of the town if they
There
redo
you go.
that.
The
Like,
director
this
says
is-
it's a standalone episode,
If
and
they
that's
do,
all I
like-
have.
if they do Groundhog Day and rewind and do everything just from Hal Brand's point of view, we're all going to be like, "What? Really? Really?"
I was kind of wondering. So my question, if I can flip this around and be the question asker here for a minute.
Yes.
No, okay.
So if that's the case, and like, just the Tolkienness aside, and like my lore brain aside, we know that like season 1 had a certain level of drop off, and you'd think season 2 kind of needs to come out and grab the audience, like rehashing season 1. I don't know. Like, does that run the risk of, either turning off potential new viewers that aren't, maybe don't recall everything from season 1, and or it's not enough new to show people what season 2 has in store? Like, does that actually run the risk of backfiring? That's my overall question. Like, rehashing
Yes, it does.
season 1 in the
Yes.
premiere of season 2, does that run the risk of backfiring?
I think it does.
Yeah. Justin says
I'll
yes.
let Cliff go first, and then I'll have
No,
the final
Justin,
say.
you go first. No,
I'll go
you
first then.
Justin.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is the smartest thing Amazon can do at this point.
How so?
They-
I'm curious.
Because based on the data, based on the verified, validated data from third-party companies as well as internal data, there's no question that only 36% or 37%
37, yeah.
of viewers that watched the first episode of Rings of Power finished the whole season. Two-thirds of the audience of this show gave up on it in the middle of it. A lot of them gave up on episode 4. A lot of them gave up on it on Mithril, Chlorians. A lot of them came up with it on Pyroclastic Flow. But the fact is, and this is a fact, 2/3 of the audience never finished the season. So this is why it's actually really smart for Amazon to do it this way.
Well, from a strictly utilitarian point of view, I get that. I do get that.
So if you know that you spent all those billion dollars, and you had all that marketing, and everybody knows that Amazon is the home of Rings of Power now, and you want to get people to try out season 2, this means that Amazon can blow a huge marketing budget for season 2. They can go to Comic-Con. They can have a huge offsite experience at Comic-Con, big Hall H presence. They can do all the things that they want to do to get people hyped for season 2 with a great trailer and everything like that. Because if someone gets hype about the marketing on season 2 and tunes in on day 1, there's a really good chance that most viewers did not finish the whole season, because that's what the data
season
shows
1
right now.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it's actually the smartest thing Amazon has ever done with this show, besides give it the big budget that it requires. The second smartest thing is to do an season 2 episode 1 review of season 1, but maybe from a better perspective, because it catches everybody up that gave up on the show. It tells it from the perspective of the character that this show is supposed to be about. The Lord of the Rings is Sauron. He is the Ringmaker, the Kingmaker, and he is the Lord of all the rings. So it makes sense, if you're going to do a bottle episode on episode 1 and retell season 1, you do it from his perspective. You do it from a fresh perspective that the small group that finished season 1 will appreciate the added context. But for the most part, most people, 2/3 of your audience, need to get caught up. And it's way better than doing a retelling. Last time we left our heroes, that's so boring and it's so 1970s. We don't want that. So I think it's a genius move. I'm really excited for this. And I'm loving that Charlotte Branstrom has confirmed it's a bottle episode. And I think it's the best thing that season 2 can start with. That's my opinion. Off to Cliff.
Okay.
Point taken. I will only succinctly say this. If a lot of people stopped tuning out at 37%, why would they tune in all over again on season 2 with the realization of, oh, they're just giving me more rehash of the stuff I didn't like?
No.
That's why it's the potential to backfire. That's it. Now, it's already 6:35, and it is something of a unique evening for myself. I have tickets at the Hollywood Bowl to see The Planets by British conductor Gustav Holst. So I'm going to go see The Planets, and I've got to get going pretty soon to meet with a bunch of people from Scum and Villainy Cantina and other folks that I know. Let's just leave it at that John Williams would not be who John Williams really was if it were not for the direct influence of The Planets and Gustav Holst. There's a direct musical influence. We never knew what outer space
to do with Tolkien in any capacity.
It has nothing. It has nothing to do with Tolkien. It's just me saying goodnight, everybody. It's just me saying goodnight, everybody.
Well, you say goodnight. I say good luck.
I'm giving some Star Wars nerd quality material to the big Star Wars nerd in the room, our very special guest, Matt, Nerd of the Rings. If he wants to know where John Williams got his influence for Star Wars film scores, it comes from Holst.
I need a fact check.
That's exactly where it comes from.
Yeah.
Nope.
Final
look it up
thoughts
directly.
from
John Williams said it himself. Look
final
it up,
thoughts
nerds.
From Matt.
Look it up.
And Matt, you can end with your newfound information on elected officials.
Oh yeah. Okay. So elected officials. I will say real quick on the, I can kind of see it both ways on the Rings of Power, like the rehash of with episode 1. Like I can see where, acknowledging, okay, we had a big drop off. We need to try to get more people on board and catch them up to speed. But I also look at it and, what Cliff said, like, there's a reason that people tuned out. And if you're just doing more of the same, then that's not going to hook them, Gosh, yeah,
there
it's
you
a
go.
tough
Middle
one.
of the road, Matt. Once again, strikes again.
No. So I think I'm leaning more toward Cliff though, because you have an 8 episode season. So like at most that's like 8 hours. And you're going to use an hour of that to tell the same story. I mean, unless there's
better than the 6 hours that I don't have to watch.
What do you mean the 6 hours you don't? Oh,
let's say I watched the first 2 episodes and I gave up on the show.
I get that point. I get that.
You're saving me 6 hours by watching the 1 hour rehash.
But I feel like you could just do that with a, minute long previously on Rings of Power, and do that whole thing.
Yeah, but why?
Get on with the story of season 2.
I can't wait to see.
What is going to be gained from learning all this stuff from Hal Brand's point of view? How is it going to benefit the story? That's my bigger question.
I want to see him on the other side of that ice wall that Galadriel punches. Like, see him staring at her through the ice. And then
maybe it's going to...
My phone.
Maybe you're going to have... Right before he gets, gets out into the ocean, he's going to whisper to some elf like, hey, so Mithril has healing powers. And, and they'll retcon the whole Mithril-Chlorian thing.
Oh my gosh, no. So funny.
Okay, anyway, but
That's
elected
hilarious.
officials. Okay, so elected officials. Another position in the Shire that was initially an elected position become the Thane of the Shire, which ends up being a hereditary title. That Mary or Pippin? I think it's Mary. No. I think it might be Pippin. Who becomes Thane of the Shire? No, because
it's Mary.
Mary becomes Master of Buckland.
Oh,
Pippin
right.
becomes Thane of the Shire.
Meriadoc is Master of Buckland,
but
because of that distinction with Buckland being the family area for them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. The region for their family. Yeah.
Yes. So the first person was Buka of the Marish, was the
Hmm.
first Thane of the Shire, and was elected. And yes, that was a title that would eventually become Pippin's role. Another one comes from the First Age, the Chieftain of the Halidin, later known as the Chieftain of the House of Haleth, was an elected title.
Is that something we could see in the show?
No, this is First Age. This is Silmarillion stuff.
Okay.
You haven't even read The Hobbit, man. It's
It's not worth watching. Reading.
Watching. You read books, man. You don't watch books.
Well, now that there's a picture book, I might read it. That's Torn Tuesday. We want to thank Matt, Nerd of the Rings, for joining us again. Subscribe to him. Tell all your friends to subscribe to Matt on YouTube. He is this close to 1 million subscribers.
It's more like close.
If he gets to 1 million subscribers before the end of the year, we might have some awesome giveaways. I can dig into the vault. Behind that door is the Torn Vault. We might have some cool things that we could give away.
Ooh.
So subscribe to Matt. Tell all your friends to subscribe to the #1 Tolkien tuber, Nerd of Rings.
And Cliff, one more thing that I know you will appreciate that I did see that Wheatbix just brought up that I did see in person at Oxonmoot was a first edition of The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And it was there at the Blackwell store, and they had the price tag on it. It had already sold, but the price tag on it was £60,000.
£60,000. I believe
roughly
I saw you post that.
$80,000 US.
$80,000. That is insane. Imagine you write your first screenplay, you get $1 million, and you immediately spend it on one Hobbit book. I could do that. I could do that.
You could spend $80,000 fixing up the bird and the baby, or what's it? Eagle and Child.
Eagle and Child. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would love to get my hands on any first edition The Hobbit or first edition Dune by Frank Herbert, but that's just not going to happen. Anyways, you guys are awesome, by the way, Justin. I appreciate you very much, brother. Thank you, brother, for helping put the show together for us again this week. And oh, there's sirens going by. Time to go. Matt, Nerd of the Rings, you are always welcome here as our special guests.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Now that the siren is gone, let's do our sign-off. To all the beautiful people out there in the chat room, be kind to one another. Be nice to one another. Let's do it. Treat each other really well and watch out for one another. Until next week, we'll be back here at theonering.net on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time with more mischief and rumors and maybe some confirmed news if we can get that going. Thank you again for being here. You guys, it's great. It's a great show. Me, I'm signing off tonight. I'm Clifford Broadway. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at QuickBeam2000. Until next week, we'll see you at theonering.net. And as I always love to say, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.